Hey, this is Fred Roumbanis, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro, and today I'm going to share with you my secrets in punching bass in the thick, heavy cover. When you get bit, usually you're catching the right ones, and when you get on a bite like this at a tournament, you're definitely fishing to win. And here we are, it's fall, the transition, you know, the nights start getting cool, the water starts cooling down, the fish start migrating into that grass, and they really migrate into the thickest part of the grass. The trick is to distinguish where in the grass the fish are actually living. You know, and there's so much grass and so many of these lakes this time of the year from all that summer heat and everything. You want to look for the areas where the wind typically blows, because it's going to blow the mats up and make real tight canopies. You want to look in areas where they're coming from, you know, an offshore, you know, ledge situation, kind of the first major grass mat from that area, because that's where they're going to be coming from the summer to the fall. It's the first area where they're going to ball up. You're going to find larger concentrations of fish in those areas. Typically, when you're doing this, you're going to obviously use braided line, using a tungsten weight. Here I got 1.25 ounces. I put a bobber stopper in the front, and I put a bobber stopper in the back. And the reason I do that is it really just holds that weight in a solid place. When you're flipping these mats, I would highly recommend you taking your dominant hand. I'm left-handed, so a right-hand retrieve reel is absolutely perfect for me. But if you're a right-handed guy and you swing a bat right-handed, I would get a reel that's left-hand retrieve so you can constantly hold that rod with your dominant hand, because when you're flipping a mat and you're using a heavy weight like this, there's a lot of weight and a lot of repetition, and you really need your dominant arm to control. It also makes it easier. You'll see a lot of times I'll have my hand on the line, but because this isn't my dominant hand, it's easy for me to let go of it and keep the control for a good hook set. Hey, here's a few tips when you're punching mats. I always use a high-speed reel. This guy right here is a 7.3-1. I just want to make sure when I hook that fish, I'm getting them up to the top and pulling them out across. And then to use a 7'5" flipping stick. I use an I-rod, but they also make a Bub Tosh flipping stick on the Genesis 2 series. It's a 7'11". You don't really want to use a rod any shorter than that. You're gonna flip in there. Sometimes it's just like freight train, just yanks it. Sometimes it's just a tap, tap. And just lower your rod a little bit and give it a nice controlled hook set. You know, just keep that nice tension, just start winding. Braided lines, there's no stretch. That hook's gonna drive into their mouth, and you wanna have that backbone in the rod to control that fish. So here's a really cool trick to make your biffle bug the perfect mat flipping bait. You wanna take the hollowness out of it, because you're not trying to make this bait float in any way. So what you wanna do is fill that hole, and I've got an old salt flicker that I caught some fish on earlier, and I'm just gonna shove this right down that gap where that hollow body is. And basically what I've done is I've made this hollow bait into a solid bait. And that way your hook will stay in the bait when it's going through the grass, not gonna come out. And I'm just gonna rig it here on this Gamakatsu 4/0 heavy cover hook. Just slide it on here like this, and just pull it right on through right there. And I really don't even wanna have the tip sticking out or anything like that. You just want it dangling just perfect like that. And that right there is the perfect mat punching bait.